Our world has never suffered from a shortage of experts. When it comes to my life and my decisions, it's tempting to believe that no one knows better than me what's best for me. However, the challenge that we face today comes from the fact that our decisions and actions impact others. Today especially, we are reminded of a classic definition of liberty, that my right to throw a punch ends where your nose begins. The exercise of our rights must respect the rights of others. And so today, as we begin to plan for the reopening of our churches and the restoration of public worship, along with the celebration of the sacraments, there is a difficult balancing work that we cannot ignore or neglect. While recognizing the immense value that comes from participation in the Eucharist and the grace of the sacraments, we have an obligation to care for the weak, the vulnerable, and the powerless. It does little good to proclaim that we are a people who value the sanctity of all human life if our actions do not bear witness to those words. There's a real fear that in responding to the strong desire to let people come back to church, we could ultimately do more harm than good. And so in the face of uncertainty, it's prudent to proceed with caution, to move forward in steps and stages, allowing time for people to grow accustomed to change behaviors and practices. It's prudent to allow time to evaluate the good and the potential harm that results from a gradual relaxation of strict practices. Here at St. Barbara, that's the path along which we are going to proceed. Beginning this Friday, the church will be open for private prayer from noon to 7 p.m., 7 days a week. To provide for your safety each day before visitors arrive, all high contact areas will be thoroughly sanitized. You'll also notice that some other safety guidelines remain in place. Face coverings are required for all visitors to our church. Social distancing standards are to be observed, requiring that individuals remain at a 6-foot separation from others, and access to some parts of the campus, including our restrooms and the Eucharistic chapel, will be restricted. None of us like restrictions on our behavior, but right now, these are the actions that permit us to provide some access. Of course, we'd like to have everything right now, but in the short term, we are invited to celebrate the small steps that are likely to help us move in the right direction. Along with opportunities for private prayer, we are also restoring this Saturday regularly scheduled opportunities for the celebration of the sacrament of reconciliation. Confessions will be heard in the church at noon on every Saturday. You can also contact me anytime by email to schedule an appointment. Over the coming days, we'll share more information about procedures that will be in place when we gather again for the celebration of Mass. The bad news is that we are not yet there. The good news is that it's going to happen. Please continue to remember in your prayers all our medical professionals, all who serve the public, and all those who are charged with implementing actions that reflect the goodness of God.